Can you see me? I hope so. I can see you. There we are. There we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Karen Browse sees me. I'm official. Welcome to our crystal healing bonus class. I'm so excited about this. I got all my tools set up. And you know, what's going to be fun about today, I hope anyway, is that I really want it to be question-led. I've got like specific things I want to show you and teach you about and share with you, but then kind of where I hope we're going to go is that you are going to ask questions, and those questions are going to lead us to talk about some different things, and you can ask any question you want. And the more I kind of lean into thinking about soul shift next year, the more I think crystal healing is really relevant for us, because some of the techniques that I use are the same as other people, and some of the techniques are different. I'm going to be teaching you about palm stones, Vogels, and scanners today, which are like 3 tools that I can't live without. Like, if you were to say, look, what are the 3 things? And there's more. I mean, I love spheres. Generators have a role. So we can talk about anything today. I'm really glad that you guys are here, though. I want to welcome you and tell you that I see you. Who is? It's Rochelle Smith who said, "I'm down with back pain today." Well, you know what's really interesting about hearing you say that? So this morning, I learned the routine. Because I had my belly dance class today, and I learned the belly dance routine that Samia is going to be teaching you guys at the end of the month. I'm so excited. It's a cute routine. And it's going to be easy for you to learn, especially if you've never done any belly dancing before. It's going to give you some of the basics. And then when you hear music, you'll have a little routine to go over. So I'm super excited to tell you. The reason I'm mentioning that with back pain is my back was a little bit bad this morning. And after class with her, the back pain was gone, because the stretching that we do and the movement is really, really good for the lower back in particular. So we're not twerking. It's really kind of an introduction to what I like to call goddess movement, but it's belly dance basics. So what it does is, because you are holding your arms and moving your arms and stretching your arms, it releases shoulders and lower back, which are my 2 pain points. So anyway, I hope I can get you excited about that. And definitely come and do the class, even if you're feeling a little achy or like you've got pain, because it might actually help. Isn't that interesting? I know. Then on to the headaches. Saw a question I want. Yeah, so Karen, we are talking about portals. And part of what I want to talk about is protocol for crystal healing. There are certain things that I do that I think everybody should do before crystal healing and after crystal healing. And portal protocol is one of those things. So let me smudge, and then we'll dive right in, because I can tell this is going to be a jam-packed hour. Team SG is taking notes, so all you have to do is sit back and relax and enjoy and ask questions and play with your stones and just receive. And then if you want to go back and like look at the technical stuff or see it again or read it again, then you'll have everything to put into your notes. So just enjoy the process. It's fun for me, because these are some of my favorite things to talk about, honestly, on the planet. And it's fun for you because it gives you a chance to learn something new. You'll probably hear some things today that you already know, but I am hoping to give you 1 or 2 things to add to your toolkit that maybe you didn't know, or you going to think about differently after today. So, and the one thing I want to tell you is, because I have worked with a lot of people over the years, and who work with crystals in all different ways. Do you know what I mean? Like even Samia, my belly dance teacher, she works with crystals a little bit, and she works with chakras. And so it's what's interesting to me is everybody's got a different set of practices. And some things they do, it's just because they've always done them and that's how they do it. And sometimes it's kind of fun to switch up your practice or to add something into your practice that, maybe you learn about, or seems like it would fit with your practice, so you shift it just a little bit. But nobody owns crystal healing. You know what I mean? It's not like there's one group of people or one facet of metaphysical folks who own that. Everybody has a different interest in working with crystals, whether it's incorporated into body work, which I'm going to be talking about body work today because I still do body work on friends and family, and I do it on myself. And so I use crystals in body work. Tuning forks are great. I'm actually in the process of sourcing tuning forks for for our Mabon tools. You know, your mesa with the three worlds, the three realms, the center tools, which are coming. I'm in the process of getting a tuning fork for that set. And I got to choose the frequency, which is really cool. That was a tough choice because I had to choose one frequency for it. And I chose 528 because if you had to like ask me which is the most important frequency, and it's like picking your favorite child, but 528 is DNA repair. It's very heart opening, heart healing. It's a high love frequency. So anyway, stay tuned. Tuning forks are fantastic. So I'm going to be teaching you about tuning forks at Mabon, and we're going to be using them in ceremony, but we can always have a bonus class on that too. So, because sound is really important. And what I've really learned over the last 5 or 10 years in particular, just experiencing diverse practices in different parts of the world with different kinds of teachers and how they approach their work, what I've really noticed is crystals on their own are great, but they're better when you work with essential oils and crystals together. And it's even better when you incorporate sound. And then you have to really focus on intention. It's like no matter what I do in my work, whatever kind of ceremony I'm doing, or if it's my morning ritual or evening ritual, it all begins with intention. What is the intention? Because the quality of your crystal healing, the quality of any work you do is only as strong as the intention that you bring to it. And then if you're working with someone else, right, you have to make sure that they also have set an intention. What is their intention for the work you're going to be doing? When I'm doing physical work, body work on someone, I will always say, I'm bringing this intention for our work together, but I need you to also bring an intention for what you're going to experience. Because I've found that you get what you seek, especially with metaphysical work, because the intention that you set decides the frequency of the work that you're doing, and then that attracts like frequencies. And so it's really, really important. Okay, good. So I'm glad you guys are excited. So I want to talk first about protocol. First of all, when you're doing crystal healing, it's really important to create a container. And people do that in a lot of different ways. My crystal healer here on staff, Selena, is certified through Hibiscus Moon, who I think does a lovely job. And so she has a very specific, but if I teach you crystal healing next year, my process would be a little bit different. I think some parts of it are helpful. Some parts of it are almost too technical for me. But it's, you can incorporate so much into your process, and there's a lot of different options. And so if we do crystal healing as part of Soul Shift next year, we'll go into more of that. What I want to say for your purposes, like basic protocol in creating a container. And what is a container? Anytime you're doing energy work, meaning that you're trying to shift someone's frequency, you're trying to raise their frequency, or you're trying to drop their frequency a little bit, which you have to do when someone's having a panic attack or an anxiety attack. You actually have to lower their frequency a little bit. Anytime you are adjusting frequency, you need to have a container. And a container is basically a delimitation. It's a boundary. I don't use the word boundary because the word boundary is really loaded for people. I don't even like to say you should have boundaries or people need boundaries, because boundaries get misinterpreted as a division. Boundaries decide and determine the energetic rules of engagement. And when you open a container, you are delineating what is welcome in your container and what is not. And your life is a container. Our work today is a container. High holidays are containers. Moon phases are, you know what I mean? Like everything is a container. Your home is a container. Have you done a ceremony in your home to acknowledge it as a container and to delineate energetically what's welcome and what's not? I mean, it's just, these are questions to ask you, right? And so I use selenite to open a container, and I'll just open ours now. You see me do this all the time, but I use selenite which you should know as a crystal healer, it is divine white light. It really, really is. Selenite has a vibration that never needs to be cleared because it's almost untouchable. And it's ancient. Can you open a container with quartz? You can, but quartz isn't pure white light. Not the way selenite is. It's got an entirely different energy connected to it. So anyway, so you always want to open a circle, and whether you do it in a long extended way or in a short delimited way, you want to acknowledge and welcome the guardians of the gateways to be present. What that does, so once you open that circle with that divine white light, you have a circle that's open, but it's not anchored. So you need to think of acknowledging the guardians of the gateways as sort of putting pins around the circle of light, right? Sort of like holding the vertical and the horizontal and the vertical, holding those spaces. So it's like pitching a tent but not putting the stakes in. Does that make sense? Like, that's my own metaphor, but it's like how it makes me feel. It's like you gotta pitch your tent, and then you gotta put the stakes in, and the stakes are basically the presence of the guardians of the gateways. So even if it's just super quick, open the circle, welcoming in the guardians of the 7 sacred gateways, or at least the 4. The horizontal gateways are north, south, east, west, and the vertical gateways are the upper realm, middle realm, and lower realm. Yeah, I mean, it's an Athenaism, but it most accurately, at least to me, it most accurately describes what I feel. Because once the guardians are called in, I feel like there's stakes in the tent. Okay. By the way, my team is it's not exactly like this, but is working on selenite wands that are similar to this. It might not be till holiday, but they're working on it. Isn't that cool? That's right. So we've just opened that container, and now the guardians of the 7 gateways have been invited to be here present with us. And so our circle is open, and our container is held and anchored. Yeah, so Ursula, it's a great question. In the Book of Blessings, the new book that's coming out in a week, which is so crazy, my original 4-directional invocation is in there, which most people tell me is still their favorite from 8 years ago. It's actually older than that because I wrote most of it when I was leading ceremonies down in San Diego, which was more like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So anyway, it's an old one. I know, the new book's almost here. Okay, so let's dive in. So once your container is open, then the next question you need to ask yourself for preparation purposes is, am I going to be removing anything? Illness, anxiety? Am I going to be touching something in my work today, either in myself or on another person, where I'm going to be removing energy, shifting energy, trying to what they call extract energy? Okay. Sometimes that I'm not. Sometimes I'm just meditating. So I'm going to collect my palm stones. I'm going to be meditating, but I'm not moving anything. I'm not removing anything, and I'm not extracting anything. If the answer is no, okay. And by the way, I think what I want to do is hold questions for the most part from now forward until like the last 10 minutes of our time together, 10:15. Is that okay? That way I can get through all the content, because I might end up answering your question as I go. So I'm going to hold responding to questions in the feed until I'm kind of done over the next 20 minutes or so, and then I'll come back to questions, okay? So most of the time with myself, I'm not removing anything. I mean, I'm not going in to do psychic surgery. I'm not going in to remove energy from my energy field. I'm not going in to, get into an extraction pocket, which is basically, or a contraction pocket, which is, source of trauma. I'm not doing that work most of the time, so I don't open a portal. If I am doing that work, and sometimes you don't know, like I've had clients, when I used to do one-on-one client work, I would have a client come in and I could just feel it. Like, there's going to be extraction work today. Even if they didn't say it, I could diagnose it. And so I would just quickly open a portal just to be prepared. So we're going to talk about portal protocol now, just to kind of give you an example of what that looks like and why it's important. So what I was saying yesterday is, this is the one thing I don't hear a lot of other crystal folks talk about, and it concerns me because If you're going to remove energy, you have to take responsibility for where you place that energy. I think one of the reasons that healers get sick a lot of times is that they get in there and they start moving stuff around, and they don't give that energy a direction, a trajectory, a container to move into, and so it just stays in the field and maybe jumps into their field. You have to be careful about that. I'm very mindful of that, and I've learned to visualize energy. Like when I'm working on someone and I know that I'm removing something, I will ask my spirit guides to turn it to color. And to make sure that I see the stream of that color going into the portal, so I'm out of its way. Did it happen to you, Colin? It's a very real thing, and sometimes you know, and sometimes you don't know. I don't want you to be afraid. If you ever feel like you are in a position where you don't do that, and something is affecting you, there are tools that you can use to clear your own energy field, and prayers and invocations and different things that you can do. But it's really important that you create that. People will ask me questions like, well, but what if I don't know? Should I just open a portal anyway? Probably. You know what I mean? It's not a bad thing to do. As long as you always remember, this is the number one rule of portals, you have to close it. It is energetically really irresponsible to open a portal and not close it. If you have a good spirit team, and most of you do, I'm sure, I do, they will guard it for you and remind you and get you back to close it. So my spirit guides are very good at reminding me. Like, ding dong, you have a portal over there? Remember that? Oh yeah, could you go to the thing and close it? It's like sometimes they have to remind me. Yeah, and like the one time, right, in Big Beltane ceremony where I didn't release the Guardians of the Directions, and they woke me up in the middle of the night, and I told me I had to go back to the exact location where we did the ceremony, like a crazy person. Anyway, shit happens. It's just good protocol, but it is a responsibility. I mean, you are working with energy, and it's a responsibility to do that in a diligent and good way. And so, well, that's what we're talking about today, Andrea, too, is like opening and closing. And I talked a little bit about that just a couple minutes ago. So if you jumped in a few minutes late, you'll want to watch the replay to see that part again. Okay. Portals. Now, a portal is in your container. Okay. The way I think of portals is, they are interdimensional access points, to broader energy fields and streams. And the guides are very willing to create a portal for you that is unidirectional, meaning you open that portal, it's not like everything that's in that portal comes flying out at you. It's unidirectional, meaning it goes from you down, okay? For whatever reason, when I'm removing energy, it always feels like I'm sending it down toward the center of the earth, which tends to be, at least in my experience, the primary place where energetic transmutation, shifting of form and matter, that's where that feels like that happens to me. When I am opening a portal to receive healing energy, it always feels above me. And so that's, if it's different for you, that's okay. I would say use your intuition. Sharon says it's the same for her. I've always felt like releasing goes below and accessing is from above, which it to some extent makes sense, right? The healing comes from above. What I'm doing as a healer ultimately is not anything that Athena is doing. I think Athena is a lovely person. I mean, this is my higher self talking to you. I think Athena is a lovely person, but she's very much human. And so she's not going to be herself healing anyone. Athena knows how to be a channel and be able to open that channel in appropriate directions to be able to allow that life force energy to come through. But Athena herself is not doing anything that you, Lena, or Alicia can't do. And so it's really important to know that. All I'm trying to do today basically is give you a couple of my tips and suggestions to see if it helps you in your practice. That's right, we're all just a channel. And I think that's beautiful. And so I do as well. When I get ready to open a portal, I always ask permission. And I always ask portal keepers to show themselves to me. Who in our treasure trove of energetic keepers, the wisdom keepers, who would emerge? And I think of all the gods and goddesses as archetypes, energetic archetypes. And I see them as sources of different frequencies and energy streams that are here to help us and guide us. And through their avatars, they teach us about what those energy streams have to offer and how to connect with them. That's how I see them. So I see one massive source frequency, and from that frequency there are avatars of that source frequency who hold different edges of it. Some more for love, some more for healing, some more for transformation, some more for wisdom, some so that we have places to go when we have these smaller needs. It isn't just to the one source. I hope that makes sense. So I see the one source above all of the avatars and archetypes. So I still believe in a God through which avatars of that consciousness express themselves through varying iterations of that ultimate frequency. That's right, she of 10,000 names, right? So Sharon is asking, how do you pick them? You can pick them, or you can ask them to reveal themselves, who wants to hold the portal. And usually I get guidance. It's like, okay, today I'm working with... This is a good exercise for us, because what I've been told is that I can work as a proxy today for our group. What should we remove? We're doing actual work today. This isn't just a class, right? So I think with your permission, I think what I'll ask to remove today from our collective field is anxiety. Is that okay? And fear. Let's do anxiety and fear. And so then what I start to do is I start to say, okay, well, and fear can show up as pain. So let's stay with anxiety and fear, because I think it'll be good for most of us. And then what I like to do is I like to say, okay, great spirit guides, guardian angels, ascended masters, wisdom keepers, light beings. Today's work is going to be to remove anxiety and fear from our collective soul shift community. And so I want to open a portal. I ask your permission to help me open this space through which we can release and remove anxiety and fear from each of us individually, those who are willing to release it today and ready to release it, and from the collective, from the space and the container as well. And as we open this portal today, I'm grateful for the access point. I'd like to ask, who of the wisdom keepers, who of the masters and light beings would like to come forward to hold this container for us? Are there any energies, archetypes, avatars who feel comfortable, capable of holding this beautiful container for us, and also holding the essence of the energy that will be removed and released? And we're asking, as we open this portal, that all energies removed and released today pass through no human, pass through the space down into this portal where they can be received, transformed, transmuted back into usable white light and energy. And we give permission to the spirit guides attending our space to send that healed white light that we create through this transmutation exercise. We give you permission to send it to those who are in need. And in this way, we perform a service for our planet, for our universe, in addition to healing for ourselves and the collective. May it be so. Okay, so I'm feeling Kuan Yin, and I just start to lean in and sense. I'm feeling Kuan Yin energy coming forward. It's very feminine. Ooh, it's got this like rush of energy up my spine. Powerful energy. She's powerful. She's compassionate. She's certainly strong enough to hold this type of portal. So giving thanks to Kuan Yin energy coming forward. I'm feeling Mary energy, Mother Mary. There's a little bit of Christ energy there too, coming forward to hold this, to remove it, to release it. And they're just bringing peace. That's all I'm feeling, is this intense sort of white light of peace coming forward. And that feels like it actually. It almost feels like Jesus, Mary, and Kuan Yin energy is holding the three edges. There was a little bit of like, I got offered sort of a Hecate energy too, which could be good. I think if Hecate's available and accessible, would welcome that energy too, because she can anchor some of more of the shadow element, the shadow energy of it, and help to facilitate that transmutation too. So I'm seeing sort of the four corners of the portal being held. And so creating a smooth passageway for any energies that will be released and removed today to go directly down into this portal, away from those of us in the group, away from the container itself. and preparing the space below to receive, transform, and transmute those energies into usable white light. And so it is. And so that is how I open a portal. Did you feel Jesus too? Is interesting, right? This sort of like, and you can, so like Lisa felt Lakshmi, you can welcome Lakshmi to hold an edge of your portal too. Like if you're doing it now, or if you were doing it on your own, then you would want to go with that. Just because I said these energies, you wouldn't have to do these energies if it didn't resonate with you. So that's okay. So if you feel as opposed to seeing or hearing, you have to lean into what you feel. Do you know what I mean? You have to use whatever your clair ability is: clear hearing, clear seeing, clear sight, clear sensing. Some people can taste, and they can tell what energies are present based on the taste in their mouth. That's not my gift. The archangels often come forward, and that's a beautiful energy to work with too. And I enjoy working with the archangels. So if they came forward, that's a good place for you to work with as well. Okay, so since we have our portal open, let's do portal work first, and then we'll close the portal and we'll continue with scanning and the palm stone work. So this is a Vogel, and the original Vogel was carved. The facets were created by Marcel Vogel, and so the original design, that's what they were. Everything is called a Vogel now if it has at least the 12 cut faces. One end being wider terminated than the other end. And so they're called Vogels because the original design, this mirrors the original design and the original intention, which weaves together crystal energy, light energy, and sacred geometry. I think these are 12-sided. They might be more. 1, 2, 3. I think this is 16-sided. So they're usually in increments of 4. And then what you want to think about is the number of sides on your Vogel and what the numerological significance of the number of sides that you have. And so what you do with a Vogel, because of the sacred geometry, because of the faceting, which increases the light energy that works through the crystal, that was ultimately the purpose and the reason why Vogel decided to do these micro facets, is it increases the amount of refractive light. And it's thought that the stronger the light energy, the more powerful the healing tool it is. And I will tell you, this is one of my personal Vogels. This is also the same size as the Vogels that are on sagegoddess.com, and we put them there today for you guys on the website. They were out of stock. We put them back in stock in case anybody doesn't have one and wants one, because our prices are fairly good on them. You don't have to have a Vogel. Everything I'm teaching you today is like optional. You don't have to do this work. I don't do energetic extraction like I'm teaching you now with anything other than a Vogel, however, just because it's how I was taught, and I haven't tried using other tools. I try to use the tools that I learn about in the intended way. Does that make sense? I don't know what we would call this size, but don't shop now. Like, the stuff will be there later. Don't do that now. Stay here, and you can if you need tools, you can get tools later. Okay, so when I'm doing this on a person, okay, or on myself, which I've done it many times, what I tend to do is try to isolate where the energy is sitting. Now, that is one way to use a scanner. This is my favorite scanning crystal. I've had it for a long time. It is a naturally double terminated Tibetan tabular quartz, which is kind of special and rare. It has another quartz point. It's got a bunch of other terminations on it, but it's my favorite scanning quartz. And what we do with a scanning quartz has is just a quartz double terminated that's clear enough to see through. Like, see, you can still see me through that. That is definitely clear enough to be a scanner. And what you want to do is you want to start to build a relationship with your scanner. In different indigenous cultures, and the teacher who taught me about this was Native American, what they will do is have you stand in front of them, and they will take their scanner, and teachers usually have one scanner that they've worked with forever. They don't like upgrade it, they don't change it. Like, I've seen bigger ones. I don't like them any better than this piece. So once you get your scanner, you have your scanner. We had scanners a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if we have any scanners right now. But you don't have to get it from us. You know, if you get a really beautiful clear double term, or you have one already in your collection, and size doesn't really matter. You can have a scanner that's that big. You can have a scanner that's that big. In my experience, it just has to be clear and have a relationship with you and be double terminated. Yeah, you can do it with Danburite. Usually you want a double terminated piece to be a scanner though. So that's one thing to think about, because what it's doing is it's almost like as you're moving it vertically, it's sending and receiving information horizontally. Does that make sense? So you're scanning this way, but it's scanning this way. And so I haven't had the same experience scanning, doing body scanning with a single terminated quartz as I have with double terminated. It does not have to be flat as long as it's clear. As long as you can see through it, that's what matters. So what happens to me when I'm scanning, and what I'm going to do is set the intention right now to scan the soul shift field. Okay? You can scan anything. So I'm going to set the intention to scan the soul shift field. And what happens with me doing this is as I come through a part of the energy field, it gets opaque. And it tends to, like it just did it. There's a little there, and you'll start to get to know your crystal. Okay. There's certain places in the crystal that start to go opaque to let me know that there's energy that needs to be cleared. So I'm scanning the soul shift field as if it's the 7 chakras. I'm setting the intention that I can scan from crown to root. So let's see where I see blockages in the soul shift energetic field. It's interesting, isn't it? Let me see what I find. Let me see if it blocks in the same place it just did. Okay, so it's starting to go right here. This would be, by my dimensions of what I'm scanning, throat chakra area, which makes sense. There's a blockage there. Heart seems remarkably clear. Solar plexus, it went opaque right there, which would be solar plexus. And then there's a little bit of opacity around the sacral. And then I'm seeing a big patch around the root. Let me go back up. And it's just about watching these little, it's interesting. It's just about watching these little areas. Yep, I'm seeing the same thing. So there's sacral. Not as opaque around the solar plexus. Not as opaque around the root. But here it goes again, right? As I start to sense throat chakra. A little bit around third eye. And then less around the, as I go higher, it gets clearer. There's a little bit at the upper end of the chakra system, but not much. Okay. Does that resonate? So I saw root, sacral, not too much, a little bit solar plexus, not too much, a little bit heart, not too much, throat. The most opaque was the throat. You feel the throat and you saw the root. Okay, so yes, you can use a Vogel as a scanner if you can see through it. This one is not quite as clear as I would need it to be. It's almost as clear. Like, see right there? Actually, from this angle, I haven't used this one as a scanner before, but I could. I would like it to be just a touch clearer. Like, what I love is I've got a big screen on this. You know what I mean? When I use anything else and then I come back to this, it feels like going from watching a little tiny TV to a big screen TV. So the more kind of visual space you have, and keep in mind, it's all included over here. It has natural, it's Tibetan, so it's got all kinds of carbon inclusions here, but it gives you a big screen. And then you get spoiled and you try to go do a little scanner and you're like, I can't see shit with that. Plus my vision is not good. So, not as good as it was when I was young. I definitely don't have 20/20 anymore. So to do your scanner on yourself is the hardest thing you'll ever try to do. It's the hardest thing you'll ever try to do. Because it's so easy to scan other people because you're not second guessing it. But as soon as you scan yourself and you see something, you're going to be like, did I really see that? Maybe I didn't see that. Let me try that again. It's just like reading for yourself is really hard. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and because I'm trying to clear anxiety and fear, I'm going to focus on the root chakra of our collective today. So I want you to bring your attention to your own root chakra for just a moment. Close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Bring your attention to your root chakra, right? Bottom of your hips, under your tailbone. I mean, your root chakra is really your perineum, right between your vagina and your anus, right? It's like the little spot right there. Just like your crown chakra is really your soft spot on the top of your head, and those are the two places where your soul is said to enter the body and leave the body, right? That's why they're such sacred places. So that's really the area that we're talking about. So bring your attention right there. You don't have to touch it, but have cue siren. If you want to touch it, you can. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to set the intention to remove anxiety and fear from the collective. I don't like to do energy work while these sirens are going. It's going to entangle that anxiety with our anxiety. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, we're not trying to remove their stuff. We're trying to remove our stuff. So I got to keep the energy field separate. So I'm going to set the intention to go in and remove anxiety and fear from the root chakra of the collective. And so I go in with the wide edge, and it's like a figure 8, in with the wide edge, and then, or the wide termination, and then down toward the portal. In and down. I'm not in this equation at all. I am literally pulling energy out and sending it down. And I can feel that the portal is open and held. You know what I mean? You can feel when that energy is still circulating. And how will you feel it? It's a beautiful thing, actually. I feel very comforted by it. It just feels like almost like the whirring of a fan. Like you can just feel the movement, and I just feel it off to my side. It's very gentle. It's unidirectional, so it's just energy going in, does not come back out, and you can feel. And you start to sense, because right now it's dense. Like what I'm pushing into feels really dense. What it feels like I'm chipping away at a massive block of ice right now. So I'm just going to focus and do the work. Yeah, it feels like a massive block of ice, and I'm just chipping one little edge of it off at a time. And then it starts to feel like it comes out a little easier. It's like once you sort of like chip off the the hard shell outer layer, it's like you start getting in, and it's a little bit, the energy is more open, it's more fluid. You can feel the movement of it. And I'm curious if you guys, as I'm doing this, can feel something shifting within you, because then it starts to come kind of hard and fast, and I can feel it. Giving these energies a direct pathway down into the center of the earth, where they can be transformed, transmuted into usable white light, and return either to their source or to those who are in need. And releasing fear, releasing anxiety, releasing stress. And some of it's old. I can feel like the older energies are slower moving. The newer energies are haven't been stuck as long, so they're like the first to go, like barnacles, and then you start getting into the older stuff. And any other energies that are ready to be released at this time, directing them down to the portal. And then what I like to do is, and you can call upon any energy, any source of energy, of light that you feel comfortable with. I often will ask the Holy Spirit to come through and to replace the removed energy with the pure essence of divine white light, peace, comfort, love, unity, wisdom, understanding, truth, beauty, just coming in and sort of filling up those cracks or sealing the edges. Because the universe does not like a vacuum, and it's important to be intentional about what you replace energy with, because something that's removed leaves a vacuum, and so it has to be tended and healed. And again, it just feels like a filling in. It's like so in all the places where you were holding anxiety and fear, we're asking that those energies are removed, returned to the center of the earth, and in their place comes the divine white light of love and peace, harmony, connection, unity, comfort. Is there anything else you want to send? Last call. Anything else you want to send? Send it now. And I just kind of tap the edges of my Vogel just to release any residual energy. And then giving thanks one more time to the 4 guardians of that space today, feeling and giving gratitude to Kuan Yin, to Jesus, to Mother Mary, Hecate, avatars of source frequency that came forward to hold and to help us remove these energies. We thank you for taking them from us so that we don't have to carry them any longer. We ask that you not only remove these energies, but we give you permission to remove any residual of those energies in our physical bodies today. Releasing headache, back pain, shoulder pain, lower back pain, hip pain, pain in the arms and joints that might be associated with this root chakra blockage. We release the pain in addition to the energy. Again, sending it down the portal. And now counterclockwise, we seal this portal. We give thanks for what it's taken on our behalf today. We seal this portal, and in doing so, we release all of these energies from our bodies, minds, spirits, and energy fields individually, also from the collective body, the collective mind, the collective spirit. And it's sort of like imagining, like, if you had dug a hole, now you're like smoothing the soil. You know what I mean? And like really see it like that. Just like beautiful, just like now you're just, it's all sealed and you're just sort of like cleaning the surface, but counterclockwise. And when you feel like it's closed, it's closed. It's not, you'll just sense like, yeah, that's complete. And what is done is done. Amen, aho, and so it is. Bye-bye, right? Bye-bye. Okay. So I taught you scanners and I taught you Vogels. The only other thing I wanted to teach you today, did you feel that completion too? It's like, may it be so. And one of the things you have to remember is when you give something to spirit, when you give it to God, when you give it to source, when you give it to a portal, however you think about it, it's all the same thing. But however you call it, leave it there. We have this tendency, and I'm saying me too, so I'm not judging you, I do it too. We have this tendency of going back over and going, but is it still there? Almost like we want that shit back. We don't want it back. It is still there. Don't dig it up. I've had people go and dig up their stuff. Like, are you trying to heal it? Or are you lonely for it? You know what I mean? What's done is done. Oh, it doesn't want to come back to you either. But I'm just saying, humans have this way of like, but maybe I miss it. It's like, you don't miss it. Whew. Right? We're used to holding it, even if it's bad for us. That's right, Karen. All right, so now I want to teach you about palm stones. What I do with my palm stone collection at home is I have them just like this. In fact, I've shown you pictures of this. Mine are all in rainbow order, so I'm going to line these up. These are the ones that we have at sagegoddess.com. That's why these are sitting here. There's lots of other palm stones in the universe, but these are the ones that we have in stock. So these are the ones I'm going to talk to you about today. And there's a couple, but like this is what my home collection looks like. And it's kind of nice. So line yours up, you know what I mean? Yours are all buy one, get one free. I think you know that too, right? And Team SG put that up there for you. So if you wanted to add some to your collection, if you buy one, you get a second one for free, which is kind of nice. We're just doing that for you guys while we're doing the bonus class. I try to do some kind of like fun financial gift when we do a bonus class. But again, you don't have to buy anything. It's just if you wanted to add, you could. So these are the ones that are there. Okay. Why are palm stones so important? Even my own team is like, what's your obsession with palm stones? Here's why. And this is simply based on the experiences that I've had over the years. This is my favorite form of stone to use for day-to-day crystal healing. And the reason is, first of all, palm stones fit perfectly in your palm. To be a palm stone and meet my definition, it has to be relatively flat top and bottom and rounded edged, not like hard bevel or like sharp edges, okay? This is the shape that when I'm working with someone new, they're most comfortable working with because it feels kind of inviting. It creates massive surface area, so more of the stone is going to be in contact with your skin. When I'm doing crystal healing, I like to lay stones on the body, and I'm able to lay these without them, rolling off or flying all over the place. Even if it's a big one, that's probably too big, but something like that isn't going to go anywhere. Isn't too heavy, isn't too cold on a client, because I like to make skin contact. If I'm working on somebody's solar plexus, like this is going right here. And if it's a big, too big and too cold and rolling around, it's not comfortable for people. Okay, here's the primary way though that I like to use palm stones. I use them like a bar of soap. And this is what I wanted to show you. And I taught you this back when we were working with obsidian. Do you remember when we were working with shadow and we were clearing the auric field? Because obsidian, this is the only obsidian one I think that we have in stock. It's spiderweb obsidian, which is a powerful one to work with. But obsidian in particular heals tears in the auric field, which happen through trauma, abuse, psychic attack. It's like little holes being sort of bored in your energy field. And the palm stones, when you use them like this, just again over your field, they smooth the edges. I've seen it in Journey because I've done it in Journey, and it literally is like, have you ever seen how hair cuticle gets sealed? I don't know if that makes sense to you, but my mom's a hairdresser. Like when you have damaged hair, the cuticle is like frayed. But when you put a nice conditioner on it, like the cuticle settles down like that and your hair looks shiny. That's what this does. It's like the frayed edges of your aura. And obsidian is the most powerful one to use for healing the little tears. But you can feel it. Like if you've had a broken heart, like over your heart space, and it literally, like I've seen in Journey, literally is going over and it's like mending all the little holes and tears and perforations. And then you want to put it behind you. In a perfect world, you're laying down and somebody else is doing this for you, which is how you do a full body treatment. So if, let's say that this right here was a body, I would literally start above the top of the head. So this is the top of the person's head. And I would go over the top of the head, over the face, down the sides of the neck, over the shoulders, over the heart, down over the other shoulder. I usually have people lay with their arms out so I can go under the arm, under the other arm, over the belly, over the reproductive area and the hips, and then down. And I usually have their legs slightly open so I can kind of get in there a little bit too. And then I have them turn over and I do the same thing. Now when I have them turn over, I usually start at their feet, and then so I can end up where I started at the top of the head. So that's one thing to think about, is doing the front side of the body from head to foot, and then when they turn over, I usually do foot to head. One thing I forgot to mention to you, chumpy stones. Chumpy stones are like, I've never had anybody use them in crystal healing other than me. So like when I go to crystal healers, which I've gone about half a dozen times, they never have chumpy stones. Chumpy stones should be around the base of wherever you're doing this work. They talk about opening a container. If you use a selenite wand and you have a circle of chumpy stones, nothing is getting into that container that you didn't specifically invite. It's very powerful. It's like having a whole other layer of protection. Yeah, so this is why I love palm stones so much. And when I'm working on someone, I'm not only am I using a palm stone on them, like let's say I'm fixing holes in the aura. So I'm using a palm stone on them, but then I have them with their arms laid out, and in each one of their palms, they're also holding palm stones. And so let's say, and I kind of look at my menu of what I have. If they're working on ancestral stuff, this is the first one I would give them, right? I mean, this is Septarian, which is ancestral healing and wisdom. And it's a mix of calcite and aragonite, which represent those two things. The aragonite represents organization and structure and information, and the calcite represents healing and peace and joy. And it is as old as time. So this is a very good ancestral stone. My favorite of the palm stones we have in stock, the only one I would say you should get if you haven't gotten it, because they're not mining any more of this, is the violet agate. I didn't even know we had these. So I found out that we had these, and I had them put them back in stock. They were sitting in a box. So anyway, if you don't have a violet agate one, that's the only one I think I would add to your collection. That and the Om Shanti, the ones that we had made for us, the little iolite ones. So let me go through these really quickly when I would use these, and then I'll leave about 5 or 10 minutes for questions. Heart stones are good for heart work. I actually place a heart stone over a client's heart while I'm working on them. But the shape is not the same. And what I found is because usually the heart stones have a point at the bottom, the energy gets stuck there. It doesn't flow. This has no edges for the energy to become stuck. Does that make sense? That's why it has to be rounded on the top, rounded on the bottom, and rounded on the sides for me. But heart stones are very good for clients for you to do heart work. If someone's afraid, I would give them almandine garnet to work with. I would also probably give them agate to work with. Agate attracts loving kindness and helps remind people of the benevolence of the universe. And almandine garnet is very powerful as a grounding stone. It's kind of it's the one that's like that Merlot kind of wine color. And it's one of my favorite grounding stones. If someone was feeling stuck energetically, I would probably work with sunset aura, which helps to perk up the sacral chakra, good for transformation too. And I would use carnelian because this moves energy in a big way. Sometimes it's too much for people though, so unless they're feeling stuck, I wouldn't use carnelian, because carnelian can actually start like a little bit of a palpitation sometimes. Like it's such a fountain of energy that if someone's trying to relax, I don't know that that's going to relax them. But some people come in, they're not looking for relaxation. They're looking to get pumped up to go and find a new career. And so in which case that would be a great choice. Other ones I would use, this is lemon chrysoprase. I love chrysoprase. Chrysoprase heals the broken heart. If I had somebody who was laying here and they were very sad, I would put chrysoprase in one hand and probably ocean jasper in the other. Ocean jasper comes from an almost underwater mine in Madagascar and is very much a stone of happiness and optimism. So petersite, ocean jasper, chrysoprase are really good for people who are sad because it does tend to bring a little bit of joy. So those are fun ones too. Crazy lace agate is very protective. It's good for people who have anxiety about something that's coming up. So sometimes I used to work with clients who are like, oh my God, I'm so nervous about this thing that's coming. Maybe they had a court date or something else or some kind of, and so this is something I would give to somebody who is worried about something in the future to try and release anxiety. Emerald would be very good for that too. I didn't know we had emerald palm stones. Isn't that funny? Like I literally didn't know that. But I found out that we do. Sometimes we have stuff on the website and I don't even know. Or we got it a long time ago and it's been sitting there and it's not even on the website. That stuff happens to us all the time. But anyway, this would be good for somebody who's fearful and afraid and needs to use discernment. Amazonite is, of course, beautiful for throat chakra work. It helps you feel like you can find your voice and like you're confident. So if I was working with somebody who wasn't confident, I would go amazonite and lapis in their hands. And then I probably would use either labradorite over them, over their energy field, because this creates a transformation. This is the reboot, right? And so if you're trying to get someone to shift how they feel or shift how they think or shift their perspective, over their body I would use labradorite, but in their hands I would use lapis and amazonite. And you could always switch the order too. Like if your intuition was no, use the amazonite over them and give them the labradorite and the lapis to hold. It's okay to switch your choices too. And then sometimes I've had times where I've said to a customer like, pick your poison. You know what I mean? Like, what are you being called to? Because a lot of times their intuition is really good. Amethyst is always a good standby for anxiety, and that feels really good in my hand right now. Garnerite's good for anxiety too, because it has a heavy nickel content, which is very soothing and very stabilizing. That's one of the reasons we work with Garnerite, because it's one of the only stones that has such a high nickel content. I've thrown a lot at you. So what questions do you have? Yeah, so Lena said, well, what about labradorite and carnelian? So this combination to me is get your shit together. Have you ever, I have, so I'm asking, but maybe you haven't. Have you ever been so depressed that you couldn't get out of bed? I went through a time, a long time ago, but where I was so depressed I couldn't get out of bed. And it only happened to me once, but it made me have so much compassion. Like, now when people say I'm so depressed I can't get out of bed, and I hear people say, are you kidding me? Like, get out of bed? I'm always like, have you not had that happen to you? Like, you legit don't want to get out of bed. You know? Anyway, this would be what I would do. And I've had people come to me and say, I'm so depressed, I feel like I can't move. This would be let's turn that around. You know what I mean? Let's turbocharge you. Yeah, I mean, palm stones are beautiful as talismans, or using your talismans as palm stones, you know, your monthly stones. When you're done with it, would be perfect to add to your palm stone collection. The only thing you want to keep in mind, here's the difference, right? The reason your talismans are powerful because of the shape is that they have a hole in the middle. These are portals. And I specifically chose them to have the opening in the middle because it's when you put this on, you step through into. It's like, so it's great to work with them, but that you want to make sure you have their permission. Like, they're opening a door when they work with something like this, because that hole in the middle is the leaping through into energy. Selenite's good for people who feel like they might have an attachment. Some kind of energy, like we were talking about earlier, like maybe they didn't open a portal and something got kind of attached. Selenite and black tourmaline would be a really good combination for that, to sort of dissolve those energies. That's what selenite does. It's almost like selenite is such a bright light that darkness can't sustain itself in the presence of it. And there aren't a lot of crystals like that. But people who are dark, in my experience, don't even like to work with selenite. It's almost like they're a little repelled by it. It should be a test of people, right? Like, hey, do you like selenite? And they're like, no, it's a little too... I'd be like, note to self. Right? Well, Larissa, are you? You're always safe. That's true. No, so it's a great question, though. Anna asked, do I have 2 sets of stones, one for myself and one for clients? So, no, I don't. I do have certain tools that I use that nobody's allowed to touch. My Vogel, I use it on people, but only I use it and only I touch it. My palm stones, most of my stones, I'm okay with people using. It's the wands that freak me out, because the wands are, the palm stones are just holding the frequency of the stone, and I can easily clear them. The palm stones are holding the frequency. The wands are directing the frequency. Does that make sense? It's sort of like, you'll let anybody in your car, but will you let anybody drive it? It's probably not a good example, because I actually don't mind it when people drive my car. I think I'm an okay driver, but I'm not like the best driver on the planet. So, and I don't like to drive, so I'm always happy when people are like, hey, can I drive? I'm like, oh, great, I'm gonna get in the passenger seat. but it's really true. You'd let anybody ride in your car, but you wouldn't let anybody drive it. I'm glad that the analogy made sense to you. Annette asked, my double terminated scanner that's on its way to Smoky Quartz, is it changed? No, it's great. A Smoky scanner is fantastic. And to some extent probably even more powerful for diagnosing illness and disease. Just make sure that you have clear enough panels where you can see through so that you would know if it was getting opaque. But the color of it, whether it's clear or smoky, an amethyst scanner can still work perfectly well as long as it's clear enough where you can discern whether it's yeah. And Vogels and amethyst are keep in mind, guys, amethyst is purple quartz, smoky quartz is brown quartz, rose quartz is pink quartz, citrine is yellow quartz, right? Golden quartz. So as long as it's quartz, it's good. So it doesn't matter whether it's amethyst. It can be aura treated. Probably not as helpful as a scanner, but those beautiful, I have one at home, the Sunset Aura Vogels for extraction is fantastic. I did some extraction work with a friend of mine who still was having energy that needed to be moved around an abortion from a long time ago. And I was like, well, let's get in there. We move that stuff around so good, and we use the Sunset Aura Vogel to do it. And I thought it was really the right tool to use for her because it's sacral. But that, her resistance to releasing that, because it was part of a story that she was still telling herself, and even though it was a painful story, it was kind of a story that served her. And she had to be really ready to release that. And then when she was, the Sunset Aura Vogel was really, really good for that. Well, what I've noticed with energies like that, and abortion in particular, is at some point it has to be released, and especially the guilt energy has to be released. And that particular energy stream is so strong, and so many people have had that experience that it's like, it almost like people don't talk about it, but it has to be addressed at some point. And you have to have a new story about it. that like serves your own development and doesn't keep you bound to some old narrative about what it means for you in your future. So generators have their own thing. Let me leave you with this. And by the way, keep the questions coming. Like, if we need to do a part 2, we can do a part 2. Did you guys enjoy this though? I'm hoping that you did. I tried to give you as much information as I could in an hour without like completely overwhelming you. But I do want you to have an interesting perspective on why would you use a double term as opposed to a Vogel, or in addition to a Vogel as opposed to a palm stone, or in addition to a palm stone, and what should they hold versus what are you using? Okay, good. I'm glad you liked it. And we can do, there's an endless amount of information to talk about. This is like the tip of the iceberg. And then what you guys do as you take this information and integrate it is you find your own kind of way, like, oh, well, she mentioned that, but I like doing this other thing better. And I was saying this earlier about heart-shaped stones. I think they're good to have in your collection for issues of the heart, emotional or physical, for over the heart. That's where I like to work with hearts. Or if you have a client, it's really nice if they can sit and hold a heart stone like this in their hands. But I don't use it for what I just showed you. That is palm stone territory. My kids call them the bars of soap. That's bar of soap territory. So the buy one, get one today, I think it's just, Team SG is just any palm stone that they buy from that category, they automatically get a second one, right? Can you clarify that? Like, I don't think they need a code. I don't like codes if we don't have to use them, but I think if you purchase a palm stone from that category, you automatically get a second one, which is kind of fun. And we are intuitively choosing that for you. So it's kind of like, you don't know what you're going to get. This is most of what we have in stock, but I guess we have another 20 different kinds that we don't have big enough quantity of, so they're not on the website, but could be chosen as your intuitive stone. So you literally don't know what you're going to get. Super fun, right? Lauren, reframe your question for me because I'm not sure I understand. You asked if there's an upper portal. Oh, upper portal for yourself, opening the upper portal for healing. That could be a good thing for part 2. We've talked about removing energy, but maybe part 2 we could talk about retrieving energy, which, like I said, is an upper portal as opposed to a lower portal. Okay, you have to add the $0 line item. See how bad I am at like rules. Raw stones in part 2. I like that idea too. Generators maybe in part 2. Would that be good? And spheres, because spheres are their own thing. For me, what I use, I'll leave you with this. What I use generators and spheres for, everything we're talking about here is like actually on a person, on yourself, either one-to-one or self-done work. For me, spheres and generators are about the space. Same with chimpies. Spheres and generators are about creating and setting and maintaining energy in your space. And those should be used almost like very intentionally. A generator, it creates a fountain of energy, but it pulls energy in. It's like it gathers energy from below and directs it above and starts to create this like loop. I've seen that in Journey 2. And so think of them as fountains. And so they're constantly operating in your space as these fountains of whatever energy they are. If you have a bunch of black tourmaline generators in your house and you start to feel depressed, you might be overgrounded. You probably have all these fountains of grounding going on and you're like, Jesus, because too much grounding can feel like depression. And then if you have too much quartz, you might feel like, God, I'm just agitated. Like I can't relax. It's like, yeah, because you have 100 quartz fountains going around you going, all right, bigger energy, bigger energy, bigger energy, right? So it's like, be really conscious of some of the space setting crystals that you have. What are your spheres? What are your generators? Where are they? How do you feel when you're in those rooms or in that space? And if you're feeling too anxious, use a lower frequency stone. If you're feeling too agitated, use a, you know what I mean? Like calibrate, but be intentional. Yeah. And so what's nice is that the Soul Shift Mesa generators tend to sort of balance each other out. I have them in the windowsill over here behind my little sound table. So the mini mesas are good because the energies, they're almost neutralizers, because like 1 month the frequency is a little bit higher and the next month the frequency drops a little bit. So we tried to think about that for you on your behalf a little bit. Well, my pleasure. I'm really happy that I got to spend some time with you. The rest of my day is in meetings with my team and doing different things around here. So thanks for taking an hour and 12 minutes out of your day to spend some time with me. Like I said, keep the questions coming. I will work on a part 2 for us. Might take us a minute because I've got a couple of other bonus classes coming for you, including Magic for Kids. I'm working on that bonus class that I hope you'll invite your children to. So I think we have 2 or 3 now pre-scheduled. We've got the Sex Honey bonus class. We've got the Magic for Kids bonus class. So this, whatever we do, part 2 of this will kind of go behind that. But you know, time's passing by so damn quickly this year that it'll be here before you know it. Yeah, and if you missed part of it, go back to the beginning. I mean, that's the beauty of having a recording, is like at your leisure, you know, you can go back and watch the rest of it. So yeah, Team SG, do we know when the Magic for Kids bonus class is? I think it's on my calendar. We may not have announced it yet. I think it's coming in August, Magic for Kids. I don't know. It's been such an ongoing request. And I think what we decided to do is to do it as a bonus class for you, but pay-per-view for the public, because people want to see it. But then, you know, I like to do things for you guys as a favor. So I think we might do that, because it's, I mean, every single customer I have wants to know how to teach their kids about magic in a safe way, in a balanced way, in a mindful way, in a healthy way, in a protected way. So I think that's what we're planning, is a bonus class for you that would be pay-per-view for the public. Kind of fun, right? Anyway, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure to be with you guys today. So now you know, you got to choose the $0 item. I don't really know how it works, but it'll get you a free palm stone. I think your code is Divine18. Is it Divine18 or 18 Divine today for 18% off? We have some Vogels in stock. We have a couple of double term wands in stock. We don't have a lot of wands right now. We may have some scanners, and then we have the palm stones for you. So enjoy. And if you have all the tools you need, start using them. I hope I've inspired you to go back through your collection today and line up your palm stones and get your little healing situation as a Divine 18. Yeah, well, you know, I think it'll be a good class for adults too. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to seeing you soon, if not today or tomorrow, probably on Monday, but I wish you a beautiful end of the rest of your week. Take good care, you guys.